Text number 23. The title of the chapter, Lord Ramachandra Rules the World. Purusho Ramacharitam Prabhanerupadarayan Anshramasya Parorajan Karma Bandhe Vimukhyate. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. O King Parikshit, anyone who orally receives the narrations concerning the characteristics of Lord Ramachandra's pastimes will be ultimately freed from the disease of envy and thus be liberated from the bondage of fruitive activities. Purport. Here in this material world, everyone is envious of someone else. Even in religious life, it is sometimes found that if one devotee is advanced in spiritual activities, other devotees are envious of him. Such envious devotees are not completely freed from the bondage of birth and death. As long as one is not completely free from the cause of birth and death, one cannot enter the Sanatan Dham, or the eternal pastimes of the Lord. One who becomes envious because of being influenced by the designations of the body, but the liberated devotee has nothing to do with the body, and therefore he is completely on the transcendental planet. A devotee is never envious of anyone, even his enemy, because when the devotee knows that the Supreme Lord is his protector, he thinks, what harm can the so-called enemy do? Thus the devotee is confident at the protection of the Lord. The Lord says, Ye yatamam prapadyante tam sataiva bhajamyaham. According to the proportion of one's surrender to me, I respond accordingly. A devotee must therefore be completely free from envy, especially of other devotees. To envy other devotees is a great offense, a Vaishnava aparad. A devotee who constantly engages in hearing and chanting, Shravana Kirtana, is certainly freed from the disease of envy, and thus he is eligible to go back home, back to God. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chashurumilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Prakamayam Dadati Swavalantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sakadam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Patrubhyascha Upasindubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Vishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So, we are gathered here to prepare for what's coming up? So much open space here. It's like I feel very, very uncomfortable. I guess we're saving space for the people who come late, no? You are so kind. This is Vaishnava Seva. This is true Vaishnava Seva. You know, being generous to those. Will we do the same in Prashadam line? There the elbows come out, right? Get me to the front. During class, get me to the back. We have to make sure the walls are held up properly. Okay, let us talk about Lord Ramachandra and Ram Navami. So Ram Navami is coming up on Tuesday in our Vedic calendar. So it's a very auspicious day in our Vedic calendar. And one that we get a great benediction by Shukadev Goswami, who says, O King Parikshit, anyone who orally receives the narrations concerning the characteristics of Lord Ramachandra's pastimes will ultimately be freed from the disease of envy and thus be liberated from the bondage of fruitive activities. So this is a great benediction. Normally when we go to the Lord, we don't pray to be free of envy. We pray for a few bucks in our pocket, maybe a promotion, maybe, some visa status. We pray for these types of things, right? Do we ever pray to the Lord, Lord, make me free of envy? Anyone prays that way? But Shukadev Goswami is very smart because he knows our true affliction, our true ailment is not lack of eating, sleeping, mating, or defending. That is normally what we ascribe as our deficiency. I have a deficiency of one of these 4 animal propensities. But in reality, our deficiency is the purity of heart. And one of the main afflictions in our heart is envy. Because it is only due to envy that brought us to this material world. So guess what? Because we're all situated here, we know one thing. We all have it. That is guaranteed. Because without envy, you would never come to the material world. Nobody chooses on their own volition, in a pure heart, to come to a place of Dukhalayam and a Shashvatam. Nobody would be that foolish. So this envy, it originates in our envy of the Supreme Lord. We had envy of His position. And that brought us to this material world to try to experience life without Krishna. And we have been going through millions and millions of births, and now have finally come to realize something that is not such a good experience. And so now let us make our way back. And so the purification of heart is required. And as Shukadev Goswami tells us, hearing these pastimes of Lord Ramachandra can free us. But he uses the word ultimately. Meaning, we have to do our part. It's not automatic. He doesn't say automatically free. So when we, study Lord Ramachandra's pastimes, the pastimes are effective only if there's a transformation of the heart that leads to a transformation of our activities. Otherwise, yes, we'll be entertained. The pastimes are very sweet and enjoyable, very relishable. In the beginning of this section, Shukadev Goswami tells Parikshit Maharaj that you have heard Ramayana many times. And so here, in the narration of Srimad Bhagavatam, I'm going to speak on a few related topics, because you have already heard it. And Srila Prabhupada comments, this indicates that we all have come in contact with the beautiful pastimes of Lord Ramachandra. And they are very widely celebrated for great reason. But if we really want to extract the full essence of the Ramayana, we should seek to have this transformation of heart. This transformation of consciousness. And it should have a perceptible change in how we behave, our actions. And in particular, as Srila Prabhupada writes, even in our interactions with other devotees. So this envy we must become free of. And if I am not becoming free of this envy, I should go deeper and deeper into Shravanam, hearing, to try to purify the heart. So this is the diagnosis or the symptom we are looking for. To know, am I really doing Shravanam to Ramayana? Okay? So, Lord Ramachandra's appearance is very sweet. And it's particularly relishable because Lord Ramachandra appears and performs activities in what we call, the ordinary human life. He does things that resemble things that we can relate to. His activities are very relatable. That's what makes Lord Ramachandra's pastimes very sweet for us. But they're very instructive. Our acharyas say that Lord Krishna, we must follow his instructions. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we follow his mood. And Lord Ramachandra, we follow his actions. His actions are followed. If we try to follow Krishna's actions, it'll be dangerous. Anybody wants to try to lift Govardhan Hill out over their head? Forget it, Govardhan Hill. Just one rock you'll hold over your head for a few minutes? No, it's not good for our health. So following the actions of Krishna is difficult, dangerous. We have to follow the instructions. Similarly, we must follow the mood of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this mood of devotion. But Lord Ramachandra gives us, he is the walking example for us of how to perform our activities in many, many different realms of life. So the breadth of Lord Ramachandra's teachings is extraordinary. He shows us what is the meaning of an ideal son or daughter. Gender is not relevant. Ideal son, daughter. What is the position of the ideal disciple, of the ideal brother, of the ideal husband, of the ideal friend, of the ideal king. So like this, he shows across many, many, many dimensions how to perform these different roles to perfection. And the meaning of Lord Ram is, he's a source of all pleasure. So he came to give us happiness. To give happiness. And so if we follow his instructions, his activities, the result will be, we'll find this real happiness that we are searching for. So I always offer this opportunity during any of the Ram Navami discussions, that if you really want to evaluate what is my depth of understanding Ramayana, it's not measured by how many pastimes you know, how many verses you can recite, how much depth of understanding. You can measure it in a very simple way. You take out a piece of paper and you make a 3-column chart. And in the leftmost column, you write down all the sweet actions you have that you like about Lord Ram. And you can pick some of the different activities, some of the different things he did. The situations, I should say. More the situation, not the activities. So, like, the situation of Lord Ramachandra being banished to the forest. Or the situation of, before that, him being deprived of the throne. And you write down in the second column, how did Lord Ram respond to that situation? What was his response?
How did he behave? And then we write in the third column, but don't show this third column to anybody, how we would behave. What would be our mood? But again, keep that private. That's not something we want to show to our neighbors. But if we honestly introspect, we'll see by this just visual analysis how Lord Ram is responding to these different circumstances and how we would respond. And where there are gaps and variation, that is our opportunity to go deeper and to learn more from Lord Ramachandra's pastimes. So this is a practical way for us to really understand and evaluate our pastimes. So this is his purpose for coming. So we can talk maybe a little bit about his appearance and then a few snippets from Ramayana, from particularly these two chapters. When Shukadev Goswami is speaking, he has a very short amount of time. So when he speaks on Lord Ramachandra's pastimes, wherever he spends a little extra time, we can understand that must be very important points. So we'll pick a couple of spots in his narration where he spends a lot of time. Now, one of the things that we see before we get to the appearance of Lord Ram, at the end of this chapter, the end of the beginning of the first chapter, so here there's a nice verse, verse 53. It says, when Lord Ramachandra, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, was king of this world, hear this, all bodily and mental suffering, disease, old age, bereavement, lamentation, distress, fear, and fatigue were completely absent. Shall I read that again? When Lord Ramachandra, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, was king of this world, all bodily and mental suffering, disease, old age, bereavement, lamentation, distress, fear, and fatigue were completely absent. But it goes even further. In the last line of this verse, there was even no death for those who did not want it. That's the power of Lord Ramachandra's rule. That when ruling is done with such potency, the effect on the world is there. Any elected leader can deliver these types of results? Not even close. In fact, they increase bodily and mental suffering, they increase disease, they increase old age, increase lamentation, distress, and increase taxes. This is the nature. But when the Supreme Lord shows how to be the ideal king, this is the result. And so this system is very, very powerful and very real. And, I was thinking, I've been thinking about this situation. I think there's a parallel that we sometimes, when we hear this stuff, we think, oh, that's sort of like, almost like fanciful. Like, how is that real? Right? How is that even practical? I need some more recent proof or evidence. So if we want to look to more recent history, we know that 500 years ago, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu spread throughout India the chanting of the holy names and the Sanatana Dharma. He established this pure consciousness all over India. And established this practice of our Vedic culture. And we have a modern day measure of something analogous to this that I read earlier. That if you look just 300 years ago, so 300 years ago, some 200 years after the appearance of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, India, which was at that point following our Vedic culture much, much more than they are today, in following our Vedic culture, following this principle of simple living, high thinking, following these principles of modesty and humility and all these great values we celebrate, India in 1700 represented 27% of the world's economy. So this is how modern day economists want to define success, right? When a politician looks for election, they try to measure what's the economic growth during my reign. So even by this material measure, we can actually see the potency of our Sanatana Dharma. That when applied more heavily, what happened? And today, India is single digits percent of the world's economy. And what's happened over the last 300 years? We've increased our Vedic culture or lost it? You decide if those are correlations or not. But I think by how we saw the system when Lord Ramachandra was ruling, it can be very clearly assessed that this is our Vedic culture, this Sanatana Dharma, this Krishna consciousness movement. This is the only recipe for all success. Spiritual success, and certainly as a correlation, all other forms of success. But without it, you're guaranteed failure. Neither you'll achieve material success, nor will you achieve, more importantly, spiritual success. And that's the prediction in Srimad Bhagavatam. 12th canto projects what this age of Kali Yuga will continue if we don't take to the pastimes of the Supreme Lord and start to apply them to our life. So with that heavy set, let us now discuss some of the sweet pastimes of Lord Ramachandra, with the goal of transforming the heart, not just some pious entertainment. Okay? So, Lord Ram, he appears for several reasons. Of course, we know that the devatas, the demigods, they had approached the Lord and asking him to appear because of the havoc that Ravan was creating in the world. And so, for that reason, the Lord appears. And even in that appearance, it's a very sweet interaction how the Lord manifests. So when the demigods, they approached the Lord for his appearance, the Lord said, I will appear. But I also want you all to also purify yourselves. To purify yourselves mainly of this material attachments. And so you all appear as monkeys in my pastime. Now, some may see that as maybe a bit of a punishment, no? Monkeys are not considered the most highest class of living entities. So we may consider it like that. But we know in Ramayana, who did Lord Ram rely upon to help him conquer Ravan? Hanuman and the entire Vanara army. So while socially it may be understood that walking around with monkeys is not some high-class situation, Lord Ram did not care. He actually shows that his mercy, it doesn't go based on one's external qualifications, based on one's bodily designation. But actually his mercy comes on the basis of one's heart, one's consciousness. And so Lord Ram glorified the entire Vanara army in their participation in the battle. Now let us understand one thing. Did Lord Ram need any help? Do you think there's any possibility he would not know where Mother Sita is? He knows everything in our hearts, everything we are thinking. He knows what's happening everywhere. And somehow he could not know where Mother Sita went? Is that possible? But he performs this pastime to give glories to all of his devotees. This is the nature of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Ramachandra, in all the different incarnations. They come to glorify their devotees. The second reason he comes, because all the rishis were praying to be relieved from all of the atrocities of the various Rakshasas who were disturbing all of their seva. We know Krishna says, Paritranaya sadhanam. I am protector of the devotees. Also, another reason Lord Ram appears. And when any appearance of Krishna or appearance come, there are multiple layers of reasons. Like when we studied Gaur Purnima, we knew the internal reasons and external reasons, right? So even in Lord Ramachandra's appearance, there are some inner reasons. And one of those reasons was by the desire of, anybody knows? Who had a specific desire? Lakshmi Devi. She was worshipping Lord Narayan, massaging his feet, but she was having a sad face. You know, we all know that, right? Husbands know this. When wife has sad face, something, all right, what's up? What's going on? What is your lamentation? Lord Narayan's confused. He says, this is Vaikunta, free of all misery. What is it that you could be disappointed about? What is it that you could not have? There are desire trees. This is all the land of perfection. So what is the cause of your sadness? So Mother Sita says, or Lakshmi Devi says, well, my Lord, I have this great opportunity to serve you. And Lord Narayan says, yes, you not only serve me, there's no competition. Nobody can vie for your position. You have an unthreatened role. You know, like in service, if we have some good service, and if we step away, we fear somebody might step in. And in this service, no, who can come close? So she's like, you have an unrivaled position. He says, yes, my Lord, that is true, but I have a more desire. That I want to serve you in private, not with anyone around. I want just me and you. And so Lord Narayan looks around, says, I don't see anybody. We are here private. What? We are here alone. We are alone, but above you, behind you, are all these eyes of Ananta Shesh. Millions of eyes are watching me. And I don't want that. I want to be just in service to you, uninterrupted and disturbed by anybody. And so Lord Narayan says, okay, not now is the time, but I am soon going to appear, and you can appear with me, and I will fulfill that desire. And how did Lord Ram fulfill that desire? Vanavas. We think this is due to the manipulation of Mantra and Kaikeyi, but they were just actors working out the script of the Supreme Lord. Because the Supreme Lord wanted to fulfill the desire of Lakshmi Devi. So Mother Sita had this opportunity 14 years. As soon as they returned from Mithila and reached Ayodhya, Mother Sita is like, you are so popular, you are so famous, that morning to night people are coming to see you. Where is my opportunity for seva? This is not working. And he said, be patient, my queen, your time is coming. And of course, through his pastime, they had this opportunity. But Krishna and the Supremo, they're very clever. So even when she had this opportunity to serve, another form of Anantashesh was there, as Lakshman. Lakshman was there also. But this is the sweet way how the Lord reciprocates. So that is one of the inner reasons why he came and presented this pastime in this way. And Mother Sita's presence in this pastime is very, very sweet and very powerful. We know that King Janak established this test of who could marry Mother Sita. And why? Because this relates to one of the pastimes in her childhood, that this Lord Shiva's bow that King Janak had on display, it was quite an extraordinary bow. It would take 8,000 soldiers to carry this bow. But when I say carry, they would carry, walk a few steps and stop and rest. And next day, a little bit more. And such extraordinary weight this bow was. But we know that one day, Mother Sita, she was 4 or 5 years old, and her and her girlfriends were enjoying, and they had desire to pluck some flowers that was a little bit high up. She said, wait a minute. And what did she bring? This bow. She just came, put this bow onto the tree and climbed up, grabbed all the flowers, and then put the bow back. But the minister saw this. He said, what? Who is this lady? Who is this little girl? And they told King Janak. King Janak said, are you all mad? Sita could not lift this bow like that. Do you know how it came here? And they said, no, it's indeed true. So King Janak became very frightened, worried. He said, how will I find somebody to marry her? She'll go to embrace him and squeeze all the life air out of him. And then that'll be on my head, that my daughter killed their son. She may go to caress his hair and the whole head will fall off. So she's like, he's in great anxiety. And so he said, well, only person that can marry would be one who can also lift this bow. But it has to do something more than just lift it. So of course he established that you must string it and twang it. And of course Lord Ramachandra broke the bow. So we know this. At least those of you who have studied this, But it begs the question then. Did Mother Sita need even Lord Ram to escape Ravan? If she was that strong, that powerful, she also didn't need to sit in that garden waiting for Lord Ram. She could have easily just given one slap and Ravan would be done. Would have finished. Even in the forest, when he tried to abduct, she didn't need to pretend to resist. Just with her eyes, he would have been vanquished. So why? What was she doing? She was participating in this drama. Why? To create the intrigue and suspense and drama to captivate us to Lord Ramachandra's pastimes. So actually, to understand the inner meanings and the deep meanings, and to have this transformation of the heart that we spoke about in the beginning, in order for that transformation of heart to happen, it will come only by the mercy of Mother Sita. Because it was by her mercy of not ending the drama right in the beginning that we have the opportunity to relish these pastimes and take instructions by them. So this is the great position of Mother Sita. She shows us many things in this pastime, actually. We see that our Acharya's comment that, in the drama, of course, but we'll take it in that in our Vedic culture, women must always be protected. And protected means loved, not subjugated, not controlled, but protected. Those are two different terms. And when Mother Sita for a moment was not protected, what happened? And so a society that propagates this unprotected state is a society that is guaranteed to ruin. And by this action she shows that even for a moment, that will happen. We also have the very nice position of Bharat Maharaj. Now, we know Bharat Maharaj has a very unique circumstance in his seva. So, of course, we know that when Kaikeyi proposed this situation, calling in her benediction from Dasharath Maharaj, asking that her son be king and that Lord Ram be banished to the forest, Bharat Maharaj was not in Shatrughna. They were gone. They were not there. They were at their maternal family's place. So they were not in the kingdom. They were away from Ayodhya. And what happened? Havoc broke out. Chaos ensued. Right there we get our first instruction. Our Acharya's comment that when we leave the association of devotees, even for what we think purportedly good reason, havoc is guaranteed to ensue. We are not strong enough in our pursuit of spiritual life to be separated from the mercy of devotees. So this constant association is critical. Just as Mother Sita showed us, in a moment of unprotected state, havoc ensues. Similarly, in this pastime we see that just a short separation from the holy Dham of Ayodhya and all the devotees there, of course, and the Supreme Lord Himself, havoc ensued. So sometimes we wonder, what's the harm? A little drifting. I'll come back. The harm is that major chaos can ensue. Now, Bharat Maharaj's character can be extraordinarily glorified in this pastime. We often don't glorify so much, but let's understand. So, when he came back to Ayodhya, we can imagine the circumstance. So the whole of Ayodhya was an upheaval. They had prepared for Lord Ramachandra's coronation. There was great excitement and enthusiasm, pomp and circumstance. And it didn't happen. And who was going to be coronated? You can imagine the feeling he would have had. The embarrassment. that anyone of any pure nature would feel. And the worst part about it was, of course, Dasharath Raj, in his immense anguish, was lamenting his relationship with Kaikeyi, and even doubted the consciousness of even Bharat. And then we know that Dasharath Maharaj died. So for Bharat's entire life, he had to carry the weight of the fact that his own father was lamenting his association with him. How painful that would have been. What kind of emotional state that would have been. But when Bharat Maharaj goes to inform Lord Ram of what has happened, what does Lord Ram ask Bharat to do? To go back and rule. Now imagine ruling a kingdom full of citizens who blame you for their beloved Ram being sent to the forest. Anybody wants that position? Anybody wants to do that service? Everybody is blaming you for this service. It is said that he would have to get up very early in the morning to take bath in the river. Because if he went when the public came, they would throw stones at him. This much animosity there was towards him. But what did he do? Did he give up his service? Did he run away from the seva that beloved Lord Ram had given him? No. Despite these obstacles, these impediments, he stayed strong in his service. He didn't rule from the city of Ayodhya, as we know. He ruled outside. He lived not in a palace, but in a hut, wearing tree bark, matted locks. What he was eating? Barley cooked in cow urine. That's it. No paneer sabji, pakora, samosa, gulab jamuns, quesadillas, none of that. I think those are some of the menu items, right? Somebody told me. None of that. Cow urine and barley. That was his substance. And of course we know he was ruling with Lord Ram's padukas in front of him, making all his decisions. And this ability to tolerate and bear this heavy weight, where that ability comes from? Lord Ram. Lord Ramachandra blessed Bharat with the ability to do such service despite these impediments. So we also may sometimes face some impediments in our service. But when we face some impediments, maybe somebody is not so agreeable with us, maybe somebody thinks we're doing it this way and it should be done that way, maybe this doesn't happen according to, and someone's not supporting, all these things. And what do we sometimes do? We just run away, say, stop, okay, I'm not doing it. That is not what we learn from Ramayana. What did Bharat Maharaj do? He stayed steadfast. He relied on the mercy of Lord Ram and performed his service to utmost perfection. And he waited until Lord Ram returned. 14 years he served in this way, under the most austere of circumstances, under the heaviest of heaviest weight of the scorn of every resident of Ayodhya. They were never going to forgive him until Lord Ram returned. They viewed him as the cause. But still, with great love and sense of responsibility, he performed his service. So this is how we should perform our service. We should not think that this obstacle and that obstacle, forget it, I'm done, and run for the hills. No, we should remember back to what Bharat Maharaj did in his ruling, empowered by the mercy of Lord Ram, and tolerate. You have time for a couple more? I want to read this verse my mother told me not to read. I didn't listen as a child, and I guess I'm not listening as an adult. Some of you may debate whether I'm an adult. But I wanted to read this. This is a very strong statement. O pleasure of the Rakshasa dynasty, because of you, the state of Lanka, and also we ourselves now have no protector. By your deeds, you have made your body fit to be eaten by vultures, and your soul fit to go to hell. Who is speaking this verse? Who is speaking this? Mandodari. And who is she speaking to? What has happened? Lord Ramachandra has killed Ravan. Now, where is Mandodari's anger directed? At Lord Ram? At Ravan. This is the definition of chaste woman. So intelligent. When something bad happens to us, who do we blame? Krishna. Krishna, why you did this to me? Something good happens, who do we give credit to? Myself. We look in the mirror. When something good happens, good job. And when something bad happens, Krishna, where were you? What happened? But intelligent persons, they know what is the cause of both our fortune and our ruination. What was the cause of Ravan's ruination? It was not Lord Ramachandra's arrows. It was the actions of Ravan. She calls him out saying, you are known as Ravan in the prior verse, which is to make others cry because of this. Again, your body fit to be eaten by vultures and your soul fit to go to hell. Very strong, authoritative statement. But this is the sign of one with knowledge, understands what is the cause of all things that we see. On the flip side, when Hanumanji went and found Mother Sita, we know he burned half of Lanka with just his tail, having fun. He could have very easily taken Mother Sita on his back and brought her to Lord Ram. But did he do that? No. He wanted Lord Ram to have the credit to have brought Mother Sita back. So much so that when Hanumanji goes back, and of course Lord Ram is anxiously waiting, all the parties had gone in all directions to know what happened. And when the southern party found, they raced back to see Lord Ram. And who was in the back of that party? the one person who had found Mother Sita. You can imagine, this would be the proudest moment, right? I am bringing the news to the Lord of where the cause of his deep lamentation has been. And we would have raced in front. But where was Hanumanji? And so when they told Lord Ram that Mother Sita was found, but he wasn't satisfied. Why he wasn't satisfied? Because he was getting second-hand news. He wanted eyewitness evidence. So he said, bring Hanumanji. I want to hear from him what happened. And what happened? Hanumanji comes forward and just head bowed, not chest out, chin up. I did it, your Lord. I did it for you. Is that what he did? Because he knew who actually did it. He didn't do anything. And in fact, he says, he asks, Lord Ram asks, did you see Mother Sita? And Hanumanji responds, she was seen. Doesn't say I saw her. Says she was seen. This is the mood of the devotee. We may cook nice chapatis for Krishna, but we don't think, oh wow, Krishna's really going to have belly full today because I made chapatis. The devotee knows, Krishna has given me some opportunity to serve. He has given me the ability to serve. And so I will render this service fully dependent on that opportunity and mercy. Not thinking that my ability is what created some great service to the Lord. Did Lord Ram need Hanumanji to tell him where Mother Sita was? No. Krishna loves to glorify his devotees and give them all the credit. And what does the devotee do? Gives all the credit to Krishna. This is the mood of bhakti. This is what happens when the heart is free of envy. This is the nature of an envy-free heart. Even the bridge itself. Did Lord Ram need a bridge? In the dwarf incarnation, one step, he poked a hole in the covering of the universe and came the Ganges. In one step. So he couldn't cross one small thing of water. He wanted to give seva to his devotees. So this is the mood of Lord Ramachandra. So there are many other, nice pastimes of this, of Lord Ramachandra in Ramayana. But as we opened, his example for us is so perfect. But we must be prepared to follow. And we should really try to see how we can approach our service in a mood that is free from this envy. Because this is the benediction given by Shukadev Goswami. That one who orally receives the narration concerning the characteristic Lord Ram's pastimes will ultimately be freed from the disease of envy. And we see in the transformation of Valmiki Muni how powerful the names of Lord Ram are. That he was the highway robber, killing and stealing, most fallen of fallen people. He was so fallen that he could not even chant the name Ram. It takes any qualification to chant the name Ram. But he was so fallen, he could not even chant the name Ram. And so what did Narada Muni tell him to chant? Mara. You can chant that, no problem. So Mara, Mara, Mara became Mara. Even indirectly chanting. And what happened? He became 60,000 years chanting. He transformed from Ratnakar to Valmiki. Became the Acharya of Ramayana. He so expert that even Lord Ramachandra's own children, Love and Kush, where did they hear Ramayana from? And when Love and Kush returned to Ayodhya, who hears his own pastimes? And how that transformation happened? By the chanting of the holy names. Chanting one name of Lord Ram is equivalent to chanting 1,000 names of Lord Vishnu. One name of Lord Ram is equivalent to chanting 1,000 names of Lord Vishnu. And chanting 3 names of Lord Ram is equivalent to chanting 1 name Krishna. So in our Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We get these 2 potent names to chant. And by this singular process, we can invoke this mood of Ramayana in our heart and transform our heart. And not only our own heart, we can bring about a condition in the world equivalent to what Lord Ramachandra himself did, where there was no disease, no envy, no mental anguish, not even unwanted death. And Srila Prabhupada comments in a purport later that this opportunity is still present today, because in the age of Kali Yuga, Krishna has invested all of his energies into these names. So let us chant these names sincerely, with great enthusiasm, and pray to Lord Ram and to Mother Sita that we have the potency to chant despite the impediments, even like the impediments of Bharat Maharaj. Chant with the humility of Hanumanji, and chant with the sincerity and service of Lakshmana, which we didn't even get to talk about. That itself is a whole other 3-day seminar on his seva. But if we do that, then we can fulfill the purpose of Lord Ramachandra's appearance and the real purport of Ramayana. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki, Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda ki. Any comments, questions, discussion?
Just one.
Yes.
Of course, we have not reached to that part. When Ram, he had mentioned about Ram going to the forest with Sita. Now, Sita one day sees a deer, beautiful deer. Now, why does Sita would like to have deer so badly that Ram had to go after him with his bow and arrow? No. Was the intention of Ram was to kill that deer, or why did Sita wanted that deer?
Yeah, so this is a great question. You know, why did Mother Sita want this deer? Did she all of a sudden become materially attached? How she could have such a desire in the presence of Lord Ram? If Lord Ram is the source of all pleasure, how something else could give pleasure? If we really go and analyze, how is that possible? So as we know, that Lord Ram and Mother Sita, they're the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the Shakti Tattva of the Lord. So this is to enact a pastime that would serve as a source of inspiration for all of us. So she was not materially afflicted, just like some will think that how Lord Ram could have been, sobbing in the forest looking for his wife. Why he was so emotionally in uncontrol. It was not on a material platform. So Mother Sita's desire is simply to effect and enact this pastime. As we said, when Ravan came to the hut in disguise, her power was so strong she could have immediately stopped. Actually, if she did not choose to be made carry a bow, she would have never been carried away. And of course we know that she was never even touched by Ravan. Who was taken away? Maya Sita. So it wasn't even Mother Sita herself. So why that was done? For pastime. To instruct us on all the other lessons that come through the continuation of this Leela. Because without it, we would not have studied some people staying in a forest for 14 years and coming back home. That's not entertaining enough for our dull minds. I'm sorry if I'm going to speak bluntly, but that's true. So to keep us attached to this set of instructions, this drama unfolds that way. So that's why.
What was the mood of Ravana now?
The mood?
Of Ravana.
Well, Ravana shows us he's also an acharya in one way. He shows us that if you have material desires, it will end in your destruction. No material desires will ever be fulfilled satisfactorily. Ravana had a city, a whole kingdom made of gold. He had thousands of beautiful queens. When Suparnaka came back with her nose cut off, Ravan could care less. He was the least bit afflicted. So how did she get his attention? Oh, there's a beautiful lady, you deserve her. Huh? Nose was not an issue. Lady, that was of interest. And when he brought Mother Sita to Lanka, he had so many indications that he should stop this. Of course, Vibhishan was first, who said this is nonsense, but he didn't listen. Hanumanji came and virtually burned down half of Lanka. Any common sense person would realize, wait a minute, if the messenger of Lord Ram can do this, what is the potency of the army then? This is just a messenger. You don't send your strongest person as a messenger. Even when the battle ensued, all his big warriors were dying, one by one. But did he see, oh, now the end is near, let me just... Even at that point, he could have given Mother Sita back. Why didn't he? Ravan was not unintelligent. He was supremely intelligent. How he amassed this palace of gold, all this power, how he amassed... he was very intelligent. But what happened? His lust overpowered his intelligence. This is the problem. That lust, that material propensity, it overpowered his intelligence and it made him most foolish. He was not most foolish. But because of this lust. And so it becomes so strong that all common sense and logic goes out the door. So his mood was, I'm going to win. Nothing can happen to me. Even though everything around him was crumbling. This is our life actually. Every day we are slapped by the material energy. Every day. And yet we think, tomorrow I'll conquer her. Tomorrow I got it. So Ravan is like the perfect exemplification. Don't think he's some, fictional demon. He's alive today, walking this planet. In the form of our lustful nature and tendency. That's why he had 10 heads. And as soon as Lord Ram shot one head off, what happened? Shh, another one came. And then he shot that one off. What happened? Shh. This shows how many material desires we have. Unlimited material desires. So how are we going to overcome them? Taking to the shelter of Ramayana. Taking to the shelter of Srimad Bhagavatam. And the most potent and important process to overcome this propensity? Chanting. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. Any other questions, comments? Yes.
We have seen Lord Ram provided the greatest rule of all time. Example to everyone. But that power came from, he detached from all the power, throne, all the opulences, because of that detachment from the roots.
Well, no. The source of his ruling is he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He shows detachment as a mood of how effective leaders lead. It is no misconception that the best leaders in the world are the reluctant leaders. Those who are anxious to be in power are the worst leaders, because their ego overrules their duty to serve. Today we see this idea of servant leadership. It's become a buzzword in corporate America. Servant leader. That leaders should be servants. Where that comes from? Srimad Bhagavatam. Every great king, what were they? They were a sevaka. They were a servant. To who? To the praja, to the citizens. In Lord Ram's rule, it's described that he ruled his citizens like a father. What does a father do to his children? Does he command them and control them and subjugate them to his control? No. A father renders service to the child. So, this is the proper mood of how leadership should be enacted. And it's perfectly exemplified by Lord Ram. But it is not because he was attached he could rule this way, because there is no cause of his actions. He is sarva karana karanam. He is the cause of all causes. So nothing causes his ability. But he's showing it in that detached mode. Okay?
Somebody, what is the secret justification, like how Ramachandra let Sita ji go?
What is what?
Lord Sita ji, she has to go away from Rama.
Yeah.
And when they were blaming that, she was she said,
Yep.
what is that?
What is that purport? That's I think a question we get every time we discuss Ramayana. How Lord Ram could banish Mother Sita to the forest, pregnant lady with twins, after having served so much, 14 years, and then the trauma of being separated and all of this, how on a dirty rumor he could let, right? So we see all this. So like anything, if we view this situation from our own logic, we'll be confused. Why? Because we ourselves are confused. So what truth I can determine from my own confused mind? Just like if I'm looking at this picture and I have dirty glasses, I will say that picture is dirty. It's blurry. It's not drawn properly. But is that picture improper or my lenses are improper? My lenses are improper. So how to know the answer to your question? We must go to what is in Shastra and competent and described by our acharyas. Shukadev Goswami tells Tattva Darshini. In the beginning of this prior chapter, he's used the word Tattva Darshini. He says that you should hear Ramayan from Tattva Darshini. Someone who has darshan of the truth, someone who has seen the truth. They can tell you. So the same way, how to see this pastime in light, we must hear from Tattva Darshini. So our acharyas tell us very clearly that Lord Ramachandra, when Lord Ramachandra separates from Mother Sita, it is only to intensify the mood of love. Why? Because of this mood of Vipralamba Seva. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself came to teach this mood. That when we are in separation, what does it do? It actually intensifies our mood. But why he had to separate under this circumstance? Because he was showing that Grihastha ashram must be protected and executed with extreme precision and care. If we are loose with the execution of Grihastha ashram, it will lead to our fall. That if this idea of unchaste wives are tolerated, it will lead to the ruination of this ashram. So to protect the sanctity of Grihastha ashram and to indicate to us that we must be very exacting in our relationships, Lord Ram takes this very strong line. Of course, he's the knower of the truth. And everybody knew. Again, part of the scripted Leela. So whenever we encounter these things of why, we should remember one thing. Ishvara Parama Krishna. If he did not want that washerman to speak such ways, could that person have spoken that way? So then we should ask the question why he wanted this to happen. Then we go and open our heart to take the commentary from our acharyas. If we ask and try to understand and find the flaw in that, we'll be bewildered for eternity. But if we simply remember, Krishna has a plan, it's a perfect plan. And only his plan happens. Nothing is forced upon the Lord. Nothing was forced upon Lord Ram or Mother Sita. Mother Sita wasn't wasn't being subjected to an ill-based rumor. Mother Sita was participating in her beloved Lord Ram's drama. And that drama has only one purpose: to teach all of us. And so the instruction from Mother Sita's banishment to the forest is that we must practice our Grihastha ashram with great discipline and great care. Because without it, the senses will run wild, the lustful propensity will ravage our consciousness, and we will find the position Mandodari told to Ravan that my mother told me not to read. So we don't want that. We don't want that. Any other comments or questions?
I had one question.
Yeah.
Lord Rama, he maintained a very fine equilibrium between the usage of Shastra and Shastra. In the current day of life, although we can follow the Shastra by indulging in this kind of satsanga and understanding our scriptures, but the Shastra part, how we can inculcate in our part of life.
What is Shastra?
The weapon.
Huh?
The weapon. Weapon.
Weapon.
Yes.
Okay. What is a weapon there for? What does a weapon do? Kills the bad. What does Shastra do? Kills the bad. Shastra and Shastra have the same effect, which is to destroy the unwanted things. So if one uses Shastra without Shastra, that is futile. So weapons are to be used only in the sanction of Shastra. They are not independent. Lord Ram did not win the battle by weapons. In the battle, the monkeys are throwing stones and trees. And what are the warriors of Lord Ravan shooting? Big, big arrows. But why the stones and trees, which are nothing in comparison to these weapons, why they were effective? Why they were effective? Srila Prabhupada tells us, and it's written here in this chapter, that because Mother Sita had condemned Ravan, the weapons of the Vanar army became effective. The weapons were not effective by the strength of their points or the weight of their throat. No. They were effective by the empowerment of Mother Sita. So our weapon, when not empowered by Shastra, it has no effect. No use. And in fact, it can only do harm. So everything must be rooted in Shastra. Everything. What's not included in everything? Nothing. Nothing we should do in life should not come from bona fide Shastra. And if we live that way, then and only then we'll find happiness. It's okay? Anything else? Yes. They're all Vishnu Tattvas. Prabhupada writes right in the beginning of this chapter, the first chapter, they're all Vishnu Tattvas. Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki jai, Shri Ram Navami Mahotsav ki jai, Hare Krishna. So again, Sunday we'll be celebrating Ram Navami, so please come to the temple and experience the mercy of Lord Ram. 4:15 will start. There will be some cultural programs. There will be an Abhishek, as well as a discourse, and then of course Prashadam. And then observance of Ram Navami is on Tuesday. So fasting for this day is recommended. So please observe the fasting for Ram Navami and enjoy and seek to transform the heart. Thank you very much. Prashadam time? We'll eat a little bit better than Bharat Maharaj. Somebody do the Prashadam prayers? Mahaprasade Govinde Namo Brahmani Vaishnave Sarva Punyam Tamajam Vishwasa Neva